Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I wanted to come on and share with you guys a process video of how I made this winter card. I have been a little bit MIA because my husband's grandmother passed away and I just haven't had a chance to do much of anything in the craft room. So needless to say, I didn't get many Christmas cards. That last Christmas card push that I was planning on doing, I never got around to it. Many of you guys know my husband's grandmother because last year and the year before I had hosted challenges for making birthday cards for her. And I am so appreciative of all the crafty love that so many of you guys sent my way and her way participating in those challenges. This year she celebrated her 101st birthday, and then 2 weeks later she passed away peacefully in her sleep. So we feel very blessed and grateful that she passed away the way she did and got to celebrate her birthday with us one more time. And anyway, without further ado, let me share with you guys what I did to create this really quick and easy card. Actually, I used the Diemond Dies Cozy Ugly Sweater cover plate die that I designed for Diemond Dies. I designed this along with a couple of other dies recently for Dee, the owner, and part of the proceeds from the sale of any of the 3 dies that I designed are being donated to no-kill animal shelters. So I'm really happy and proud about that. I used that die with a sandwich of different materials in my Big Shot to emboss. So this background is all embossed, and I will share with you guys the exact sandwich and how I did that. Then I thought that would be the perfect background for this adorable little fox couple cuddling with one big scarf. It's from the Neat and Tangled Merry Kisses stamp set, and I also use this sentiment, Warmest Wishes, down here for them to sit on top of. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the process. So I'm going to share with you guys how to emboss with a thin, wafer thin die like this. I'm going to place this on a piece of cardstock that I know will just fit. I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape to secure it. And then I'm taking my multi-purpose platform for my Big Shot, and I'm going to open up the first tab. So it's on tab 1, so it's a little bit thinner than with all of it down. I'm going to put a cutting plate down. Then I'm going to put my paper and my die. I'm going to turn it so that it's facing up. Then I'm going to put my silicone mat. This is a relatively inexpensive little accessory tool. And then I'm gonna put down a Sizzix impression pad, which is, I think, a little bit more forgiving than a regular cutting plate. And after that sandwich, I'm gonna run it through my Big Shot machine. And as you can see, it embossed that whole die, that intricate background die, onto this cardstock. Now I've taken the cute little fox couple all bundled up together and stamped it out using Memento Tuxedo Black ink on a little scrap of Premium's cardstock. And I'm doing some really simple Copic coloring. I am using a couple of markers, 2 or 3 markers for each color that I'm using, but it's not a whole lot of blending because the areas are so small. I decided I was going to make the scarf 3 colors, basically a yellow color, a medium blue, and a dark blue. And for the yellows, I used just 2 colors. For the blues, I used 3 colors each. And if you're interested in the particular colors that I used, I'm trying to show them now on screen, but I have them all listed in my blog post that I will link to in the description box below. And all I'm doing here is trying to leave a slightly lighter area in each stripe, in the middle of the stripe. And of course, because a scarf is textured, I'm not worried about making it really smooth. I wanted the actual flicking or simple coloring with the Copic markers to actually show the texture a little bit. So I'm not worried about it being clean or neat really, other than trying to stay within the lines, which is tricky for me sometimes. And here is the combination of colors for the lighter blue color on the scarf. And I'm blending it out again with the lightest color, and then going back in now with the medium blue, that's the B14 there, for the lighter blue colors stripes. Now for the gray areas of the fox, I decided to use a warm gray. I tend to use the W line of grays for living things like animals, and cool grays like the C line of grays for more cold things like shoes, inanimate things. So for the gray areas of the fox, like the end of the tail, the belly, and the lower parts of the face, I'm using a W0 and a W1. It's a really faint gray, and after it dries, it actually dries a little bit lighter than when you first put the ink onto the cardstock. Now for the foxes, I didn't want to make it red, but I also didn't want to make it like orange too much. So I'm using a combination of colors, and at the beginning, I decided to use the same colors for both of the foxes. I'm starting out with a YR14, and I'm trying to flick a little bit here and there, trying to give a little bit of texture to show fur. At this point, I decided I needed it to be a little less orangey and more brown, so I'm adding an E13, and I like how that is kind of blending with the orangey color of the first YR marker. And I'm trying to add texture, but I'm not really sure which direction the fur would really be growing. So then I decided I'm gonna try to blend in the whiter areas with a lighter yellowy color. So I've taken a lighter YR marker. Then for inside the ears and a little blush, I decided to use an R30. I tend to use R30 or R20 for blushes, and R30 tends to work better, I think, for animals or males in particular, although in this case I use the same R30 for the girl as well. And I'm using a 0 blender marker to just blend out the edges a little bit so they're not like, you know, exact circles there for the blush. And I've gone back in and re-emphasized some of the gray areas of the belly, on the bellies of the foxes. Now I'm using the same colors on the female. I'm starting with that orangey color and flicking in the direction that I think the fur is growing. I also know that the male in the front will cast a shadow on the female's face where it overlaps, so I'm making sure that that area gets a little bit darker color. Here I'm putting in the brown, the E13, and again, I'm turning the paper image around as I need to so that the flicking motions that I'm making with the marker will go in the correct direction, as it were. Now I've decided that I want the girl to be a little bit lighter than the boy, so I've decided to do one last round with the Y00. And then I decided I want the male to be a little bit darker. So I'm going in with an E15 and adding that to just the male. And I really like how the two foxes look like they belong together, but are not exactly the same color. And I like adding the lighter yellow to the female and this darker brown to the male to get that contrast a little bit more. And here I'm just taking the E13 again and flickings to blend in that E15 a little bit more in the male fox. And that's pretty much it for the Copic coloring. It's really simple. And now I'm taking my favorite spring-loaded scissors by Fiskars. This is so great for those of you guys who have arthritis in your hands like me. It really helps so much with hand strain. And this isn't a super complicated image, but there are little ins and outs here, so I'm taking my time. This is accelerated to 3 times normal speed, I think. And I'm just going around and fussy cutting exactly on the line. I didn't want a white border, although I guess I could have in this case since the background was also white. But I like cutting it right on the line, and then I'm taking this Memento Tuxedo Black marker and just inking the edges so that you don't see the white edge of that fussy cut paper. and I like doing that extra step for that finished look. Now I've decided the background could be highlighted a little bit more using some finger daubers. I'm inking on some Tim Holtz Distress ink in Squeeze Lemonade and Scattered Straw. And I'm just trying to position the little foxes to make sure that I am going large enough so that they will, the glow kind of behind them will go beyond the size of the foxes. And I'm not too worried about blending perfectly. I actually wanted that texture. And you'll see here, I had stamped and heat embossed the sentiment Warmest Wishes on a little piece of black cardstock. And I'm just putting double-sided foam adhesive on the back of that. And now I'm back to the card front, and I can cover up the area that I had blended on the ink too heavily with that sentiment, and also cover it up with the foxes. And again, I'm putting double-sided foam adhesive on the foxes as well, just to give a little bit of dimension onto the card on top of the embossed background. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day. Thanks for watching.